Now, straight to why we are here. Now, why do we need fitness assessment? Now, one of the reasons why we are bringing this topic today is because of some of the things that were found in the industry. For instance, fitness IREP, or the Institute of Exercise Professionals, basically is the one in charge of auditing gyms in Lagos. And some of you who own gyms will have seen maybe that happen in your gym at one point or the other. But the reason, one of the benefits of doing this is that we get to see the difficulties that abound in the fitness industry. And as we see the difficulties or what people are not doing, we know how to properly train and retrain our professionals so that we can indeed be one of the best in the world. And so fitness assessment is the foundation of being a fitness professional. If you do not know what fitness assessment is and how that happens, then you will kind of be in some trouble, okay? Now, what we'll do is basically this session should last 2 days, okay? So when I started looking at this, I found out that it should last about 2 days or so, but we don't have 2 days. We don't have 2 days. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take, I think, the most important assessments that we can look at, and then we'll walk through that. And then we'll talk a bit about some of the trends in our fitness industry here in Nigeria and what exactly we're supposed to be doing as fitness professionals. Whether we're certified or not, we must take care of our clients. And of course, one of the ways to do that is to ensure that you're certified and you know what to do. If you're a fitness trainer, I mean that not by vocation, but as a certified fitness trainer, most of the things I'm going to say you will already be familiar with. And sometimes we are discouraged in our gyms or when we take clients because people don't do these things. And so because people don't do these things, it seems as though we're just wasting our time, or it's, we're just doing stuff that nobody cares about. But I want to show you that this is very important. And we are clamping down on this, at least in the capacity that we can, trying to talk to gym owners to say, this is important. This has to be part of the things that you do as a gym owner, okay? So the first scenario I want to paint is one of the scenarios that we have in our fitness trainer manual. So imagine a client comes to you for 6 months of training, and their goal is to increase or improve their cardiorespiratory endurance. Or let's say they want to improve or lose some weight. 6 months when you start training these people, how will you know whether your training is successful? How will you know whether what you're doing is working? And some people, what we do is that we just look at them, the client comes and say, oh, I feel better, I look better. And then we say, yes, we did something. Whereas that is not how a professional will check assessment, will check progress in a client. Now, other people may do that are not trained, and you can leave them with that. They'll say, oh, my cold side is now lower and all that, and that's fine. But if you don't know what you've actually achieved, then you can't really say what is working and what is not working. So because of that, people really don't do as much as they can do. There are other aspects to this, but because of time, I'm not talking about it. One of which is, how do you actually draw up a great program for a client if you do not know the content of their fitness? Okay, so let me continue what I was saying. So maybe when the client comes, you notice that he is able to exercise longer than he used to. He can lift higher weights than when he began. Or, you can then just look at the person overall and say, you've improved. Your coordination is better. Is either you do that or you retest the person and show raw data of how the person has done so far. And I think that's what every client will love you to do for them. That's what they will love you. And so having said that, we want to find out first, why do we actually need this assessment? Now, what physical fitness is helps us to know why we need this assessment. And the ACSM helps us define physical fitness as the ability to perform daily activities with vigor or strength, and the possession or traits and capacities that are associated with a low risk of premature development of hypokinetic diseases, where kinetic diseases basically is saying lifestyle diseases. That's the meaning of that, okay, which are associated with inactivity. So what is this definition saying? Definition is saying basically that physical activity is the ability for anyone in any industry, doesn't matter what you do, to be able to perform your duty in that job without undue tiredness, okay, and then still have enough energy for situations or times of recreation or times of emergency. And also with that, the person lives a life in such a way that they don't put their life at risk when it comes to what they eat, whether they smoke or not, how well they drink water, things like that is basically what physical fitness is, okay? So if you notice, it's beyond the movement, it's beyond the coming to the gym, it is the lifestyle of your client. That's basically what physical fitness is. And so when we look at physical fitness, there are sports-related fitness and health-related fitness. Remember this, because I remember one gym I went to and I was trying to tell the instructor about how that, the certification he had is sport-related. He is a lawn tennis coach working out in a gym. And I tried to tell him the importance of training with health-related components, because in sport-related components, what you basically do is that, for instance, in lawn tennis or in boxing, they zoom in on specific things. For instance, when it comes to the muscles, they zoom in on the group muscles that perform the action. So, for instance, a boxer will zoom in on his shoulders, isn't it? Yeah. So, but for a fitness trainer, you should zoom in on all the muscles. If you get what I'm saying. And because you're not training an athlete, there is an intensity, there is a frequency, there is all this time and all the fit principles that you bring into your training when you're training someone. I hope I'm making some sense, okay? So this is quite important, that we know that physical fitness has 5 components, 5 health-related components. And if I'm talking to you and you work in a gym or you want to become a personal trainer, a fitness trainer, this is what concerns you. This is what you must first perfect or master before you now begin to go towards sport-related fitness. So in health-related fitness, there are basically 5 components, and I know most of us are familiar with these 5 components. Now, usually it starts with body composition, and I'm not talking about body composition today, because I go to gyms, I see people say they do assessments, they bring out a measurement, like for your height, they check your weight, they check your BMI, and they count for themselves that they've done an excellent job doing assessment. Whereas that is basically one of the least things you do. If you are going to create for your clients a professional plan, for instance, if you're going to create those things, this is what you must know. Okay. So sorry, just give me a moment. I want to check something. Yes. So let me just confirm again. Everybody can see the screen, yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, we can see, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. So basically, these 5 components are the things that you should worry about as an instructor or a fitness trainer. And what are they? Cardiovascular endurance or cardiorespiratory endurance, okay? Muscular strength, muscular endurance, flexibility, then do body composition, okay? Remember, the first thing you should do is cardiovascular endurance, muscular, and you should actually go in this order because it's in the order of importance. It's in the order of importance. Who knows? Okay, it's not a feedback kind of class, but I'm sure you know that cardiovascular disease is the greatest killer in the world. I'm sure you know that. So before you start taking people's body composition, ensure you understand their cardiovascular or cardiorespiratory state. And this is why we are called professionals, okay? Because we do things properly. Now, having said that, let's move straight to cardiovascular or cardiorespiratory endurance. Now, one of the things I want to do is that I want to spend, I think, 40 minutes or less on this presentation, and I want to take a load of questions. And I want to take questions on even things that I've not touched on when it comes to assessment, so that all of us will be equipped to better train our clients, okay? So let's move on. Cardiovascular or cardiorespiratory endurance. So cardiorespiratory endurance or cardiorespiratory system, as some people call it, or cardiorespiratory fitness, is the ability for your heart and lungs to supply oxygen-rich blood to the working muscle tissues, and the ability of the muscles to use oxygen to produce energy for movement. Now, if you heard what I just said, or if you have been familiar with this definition, you will know the major thing here is oxygen. The heart pumps blood filled with oxygen, isn't it? The lungs brings in oxygen, filters that oxygen, and ensures it passes it to the heart, via the blood, around the body. I hope that makes some sense. So this is even the vessel, which is your blood vessels. They basically are moving oxygen from one point of your body to the other. Each cell in the body needs both energy and oxygen and needs to return waste from that cell. And the job of these organs, which the combination of all these organs, the vascular system, the cardio, your heart, the lungs, all these organs come together to form the cardiorespiratory system. And it is this cardiorespiratory system that has something to do with oxygen. And so cardiovascular endurance basically is you testing your client's VO2 max or your client VO2 submax. I know if you are a fitness trainer, you'll be like, but Mr. Joel, you didn't teach us this part. You only taught us that there is the VO2 max, and that when we test for VO2 max. Yes. So that's what you're supposed to know at that time. Knowledge is, how do we put it now? Knowledge grows, isn't it? Yeah. So basically, you have the maximal or submaximal cardiovascular. Now listen, this thing I'm saying shouldn't be something new. It shouldn't be something like, oh, okay, I didn't know this. If you are a fitness trainer, these are the fundamentals that you must know. And so this maximal or submaximal test is what we can do in order to actually check how well somebody uses oxygen. Okay? Now, when we say maximal and submaximal, whether you choose any of this, what you require for the submaximal effort from a client, or one that requires maximal effort, depends on a number of considerations. So what I mean there is to say that whether you do a maximal test or you do a submaximal test will be determined by some of the considerations we have from the ACSM. Yeah, and of course they published this about 22 years ago. So you can imagine how many years ago we should have known this. Of course, before that 22 years ago, we knew this, but ACSM, as a body, has helped us to actually, as fitness professionals, align those things that we need to know, and we can always quote them, okay? So what will determine whether something is maximal or submaximal? Number one, reasons for the test and the information you want to gather. If the reason you are taking the test, for instance, is for a fitness reason, then you should be submaximal. But if you are, for instance, a cardiologist, and you want to know how well, you want to know the volume of oxygen, you want to know what we call residual volume, you want to know all the very important things that you need to know in order to diagnose and then prescribe a drug, then you definitely need to use a maximal kind of test. Another one is health status of the client. If the person is healthy, then you should use a submaximal. But if the person is diseased, the person has some kind of cardiovascular problem or something, then they should be with the cardiologist who will use a maximal test. Another one is the setting for the fitness test. Where are you? If you are, for instance, in a gym, you shouldn't be using a maximal test equipment in your fitness training. Let me even tell you this. One of the cheapest submaximal equipment costs about $10,000. So just forget about you installing that in your gym, isn't it? A moment. Please mute if you're just coming in. I need to do something. Sorry, guys. Okay. Okay. So now, as I talk through this, if you have questions, just indicate by just saying, by just on the chat section. I'll keep checking the chat section. Anything there, I'll pause and talk about it. Something I said you did not get, indicate, and I'll pause and talk to you about it. Okay. Let's keep going. So set the setting for the fitness test. So as I said, if you are in a fitness environment, a fitness gym, then of course it's the submaximal you will use. Which is also is the same thing if you are in a hospital setting. Okay. Also, availability of appropriate personnel. Now, if you are a fitness trainer, you will not be able to use this equipment. And the picture you can see here, you won't be able to use this equipment. You're not trained to use it. Who here knows how to use it on the right? Somebody, if you're here and you know how to use the equipment on the right, well, it's the right of my screen, can you just wave or something? You know, can somebody just, if anybody can use it, can you just unmute and say, I can use it? I didn't think anybody would say that except you're a cardiologist. Yeah? And if the cardiologist is trained to use this equipment, if you can use the equipment on my left, that would be everybody, isn't it? Yeah? That would be everybody. So that's what this point is saying, and that the availability personnel will determine whether it's a maximal or a submaximal test you're doing. Of course, finally, availability of equipment, which is what I mentioned. Do you have the equipment available? And are you trained to use that equipment, as it were? So these 6 points is what determines whether you use a maximal or submaximal test for your cardiovascular test. For your cardiovascular test. Okay, so in the majority of cases, using a maximal cardiorespiratory fitness test will not be an option for personal fitness trainers. Now, I put personal fitness trainers there because usually this skill that we're learning right now is for PT trainers. I know in Nigeria, a PT trainer means someone that goes to someone's house to train. But I know that that's not, you don't become a PT just because you go to people's house to train. It is a certification that you have. Oh, okay, I think that's me now. That determines whether you are a PT trainer or not. I hope we know this. How do I clear this? Sorry, one moment. I have this thing on my screen. Okay, I hope it will not be in the next one, hopefully. Okay, it's not there. So let's move on. So I was talking about the last paragraph here, because of the inappropriate settings and the equipment or a lack of trained personnel to monitor the test properly. Therefore, our discussion will focus on submaximal testing. Do we get what I just said now? Maybe one person can just give me feedback. Are we clear? Dr. Obina's hand is up. Okay, I'm sure that's going to ask of who can use the equipment, yeah? Okay. But if your hand was up for another reason, you can unmute and just talk to us. Okay, so I guess that's why your hand was up. So I'll just assume that we were on track, yeah? Okay, so you know why I keep pausing? Because learning is not about talking, okay? Learning is about communication. So I want to ensure that all of us are participating in one way or the other, okay? So that's why you see me, I keep trying to ensure that we are all following, okay? So remember, if you have any observations or questions, put it in the chat section. So let's continue. Now, what I did, of course, was to put here a bit of what maximal testing is, and it's something that we've looked at. So this is where you can determine your VO2 max or your maximum oxygen consumption. Okay, and I won't waste our time on this because I really want to just talk to us about the things that we practice. But this is here so that you can know that this is, of course, the most valid. This is when you want to really get an exact measurement of this VO2 max. Of course, you have to visit the cardiologist. Fitness trainers cannot deal with heart problems, okay? We cannot do that. So this is the equipment for the professionals who have spent 6 years in school studying medicine. There's a reason why they have spent 6 years in school or so studying medicine, and we just spend, I think you spend less than a year to become a PT trainer, isn't it? So, so this is what they do, okay? And in the UK, I know that for personal trainers, when you become a master trainer, you can do some courses that helps you to use one of these equipment, but it's a lower equipment that is you can be trained to use as a person. But I hope we understand what maximal and submaximal is now. Okay, so let's move on. Now, okay. So now to what we are here to learn. Now, the submaximal testing basically is a prediction for your VO2 max. Now, if you notice, most of your books will say VO2 max, but it's actually a prediction for what is VO2 submax. I hope you now understand, when you see VO2 max, what they mean. So it is actually a test to predict your client's VO2 submax by determining his or her heart rate response to one or more workloads during the exercise test. So when you are predicting the VO2 max, there are some very important things that you must consider. Very, very, very important. Because I've seen a couple of people train with us or with any other known or respected school like ACE, NASM, and all these solid guys that are training people globally. And I see that they know that they have the head knowledge of what they are supposed to do, but they forget that as a science, there are some parameters that need to be set before you can say you've actually done a test that is usable, a test that you can measure, a test that you can repeat. You will get almost the same value, okay? So these 4 assumptions that are here are very, very important, okay? Number 1, a steady heart rate is obtained for each workload. A steady heart rate is obtained for each workload. Now, what do I mean by that? Basically, the way to ensure that someone you get the same workload or you get the same heart rate results, let me put it that way, is that you allow some external things, some external indicators to be constant. The second part is a linear relationship exists between the heart rate and the work rate. Now, this is almost saying the same thing. The idea is that whatever conditions that they are in during that test, you ensure that those conditions are either the same or they are set to how they are supposed to be before you do the heart rate exercise. And that is why I have this paragraph here. It says, and I say, yeah, you can fulfill the first 2 assumptions by accurately measuring the client's heart rate and minimizing any factors that can affect it at rest or during exercise. Things like stress, anxiety, or isometric muscular workout before the test. Before the test. So let me break this down a bit so that it's clear. Now, what these first 2 things are saying is that someone is coming for a test, and let's say, for instance, today they take coffee, and then you check their heart rate. What will happen is that you'll have a wrong reading. Or the person comes into a gym, and the way people are, they're coming to a gym, they just start jogging from their house. And then they jog into the gym and they're like, yeah, I'm ready for my test. Or they've had a difficult day at work, very difficult day at work, and they're just coming, maybe it's 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. and they still just want to hit the gym, and then they show up, and then you're like, there are less people in the gym. I think it's a good time to do my assessment. No, it's not a good time to do your assessment. And that's what these 2 lines are basically talking about. And of course, when you are checking the person's heart rate, ensure that you do it properly. Ensure you do it properly. There are heart rate monitors all over the place. Okay? There are myriads of ways you can actually check your pulse. You can do it manually, and you can use the electronic means. Now, one of the things you must be careful about when you use the electronic means that ensure it's the same make and the same equipment you use the next time you are doing that same test. I hope you guys follow me. Yeah, ensure that it's the same equipment that you use when you are repeating the test. That way, your result will not be different. Of course, amidst other things I said before, like them drinking caffeine, doing exercises before they start the workout. You know, of course, isometric exercises gets your blood pumping. That's the idea. We don't want their blood pumping. For instance, when you're doing your heart rate, you want to find out someone's training zone. Of course, you know, we use the Canovian theory, and we check for the resting heart rate and the what? The active heart rate. If you do not know how to properly check for heart rate, you'll have two different values that are wrong, and then you put your value into that calculation and you get a wrong answer. Okay, and you can either kill someone or cause someone to work below their capacity. Let me move. So number 3, maximal heart rate for a given age is uniform. So these are assumptions. So the idea is that someone is 17 years old and is male. We're assuming that this person's heart rate with this person's age should be about the same. Okay? And we mean for maximum heart rate. And if you're here, how do we calculate maximum heart rate? Your age minus, 220 for men minus their age, isn't it? For women, 226 minus their age, isn't it? So we're assuming that their maximum heart rate is the same based on their age and gender. Okay? 40 is the mechanical efficiency is the same for everyone. That means that VO2 max will be given at the rate of work, meaning that if I push the client more, I expect that the body requires more oxygen, which is a given, basically. But there are some cardiovascular diseases and some issues with people's body that may not give you that very fact. So, but what we are saying is that as professionals, as exercise, allow me to use this word in that sense, scientists, people that know what they are doing, we use these 4 assumptions when we do our cardiovascular test. When we do submaximal cardiovascular test, these 4 assumptions are key. And guess what? The first 2 you can control. If you do not do the first 2, if you can control the first 2, then your chances are higher, isn't it? But if you cannot control the first 2, then you have a problem, because maximal heart rate is maximal heart rate. Mechanical efficiency, there's nothing you can do about that. But those first 2, you can do something about it as a good trainer. The bottom line, however, is that the prediction of our VO2 submax based on this assumption is a reasonable estimate of fitness level for most clients. Okay? When I talk about this now, I will jump to this. So I'm going to pause here and ask if I have any questions, because I think I've spoken for some time now. Yes, I've done 38 minutes and I need some feedback. So anyone, do you have any questions so far from what I've showed you before we move on? This class is too quiet. I'm not used to teaching and just anyone talking. This class is too quiet. I'll start calling names. Okay, but seriously, any questions? Yeah, Dr. Obina, all easy to understand. Yeah, yes, yes, I trust for you. I'll just wait for one more feedback and then I'll continue. But you know, one of the feedbacks I was asking for is, are these things we do? Because I walk into a couple of gyms, I see people work. Are these things we do? I mean, this is, I just don't want it to be just information that you have somewhere. I'm asking, how do you practice them? Do you actually practice these things? Do you actually do these tests for the client? Do you understand what I just said? Are you able to explain it to your client why they need to do this test, for instance. I have a pretty shy class, don't I? Yeah. Okay. That's fine. So let's continue. Okay. Okay. But I mean, I hope everybody understands. So let's keep going. Now, when it comes to cardiovascular tests, of course, using the submaximal method, there are basically a couple of tests. Now, I think there are about 10 tests that I know, but we cannot do 10. Even in your training for fitness trainer, we do 2 tests, and then in your personal trainer physical assessment training, we do about 4 tests. So I won't be able to do even 2. Some of these ones, you can do some research. We're very good with research. We can do some of this research ourselves and find out what they look like. But the YMCA 3-minute step test is what Europe Active uses for assessment tests. So as I told you earlier, I'm part of the global coalition of registered fitness institutes or training providers. And when it comes to how we set exams, I'm privileged to be one of those people in the room that say, this is what we will use to do the test. So when it comes to your fitness trainer certification, when you're doing your, whether you're in the UK, you're in Germany, doesn't matter what European country you're in, I think even Canada does the same, but US, I think it's different. The test that you'll be asked to do to know whether you know what you're doing is the 3-minute step test. Okay? It's a 3-minute step test. It's the YMCA 3-minute step test. And so that's what I'll concentrate on. And if we do this for our clients, we will be kind of respected because it's not something that they can easily do. The couple test is not so much of a big deal. The big test or pacer test also is not so much of a big deal. But the 3-minute step test, you need a couple of instruments to do that. And it kind of shows that, okay, you're taking data and you're asking them to do this and you're asking them to do that. And they're using a couple of equipment that they've never used before. And so it gives you a bit of an edge, which is one of the reasons why we use, apart from the fact that that's what we examine you with. Okay? So let's move on. So before we do any of this tests, the YMCA test is what I'm going to do. There are some things that we must have pre-test. Before we do a test for a client, before they come into the gym for that test, there are a couple of things that must be done. You must provide your clients with pre-test instructions. If you do not do this, it will affect your test result. Definitely. Remember, I talked about that caffeine drinking and that's running down the gym, for their test. It's because you didn't give them a pre-test instruction. If you give them that, then they will do all these things before coming to the gym, and that will ensure that your result is superb. So ACSM suggests that you give clients these instructions for cardiorespiratory submaximal fitness test. 1, wear comfortable clothes, loose, comfortable clothes with good shoes. You can't use slippers on the treadmill or wherever or on the step button. A slipper shouldn't be seen a mile from the gym, if you know what I mean. Canvas shouldn't be seen half a mile from the gym. Okay? You should wear appropriate shoes, basically, and I hope we know what that is. Then, hydrate properly for over 24 hours before the testing. Of course, you should instruct your client to drink 8 to 10 glasses of water over 24 hours. But let me just say this. If your client is someone that does not drink water regularly, okay, then you can advise them to do these 8 to 10 glasses. Because, for instance, I'm not going to talk about it today because of time and it's a lot of material to teach. But if, for instance, you're using what we call the impedance machine to calculate your client's fat percentage, that machine uses electronic waves that basically goes through your body to calculate the fat there. If you don't have enough water in your body, it will give you a wrong reading. Guess what? If you have excess water in your body, it will also give you a wrong reading. And so you want to ensure that your clients are taking the prescribed amount of water they need to take daily. Now, if they are not doing that, I'll recommend that for that day, they drink the normal water they drink. Do you know why? Because the next time they do that test, all the conditions need to be the same. Now, get me right. I'm not saying don't tell your clients to take water. I'm saying that if usually what they do is take just maybe 6 glasses of water, ensure that on this day, if that day you come to them and they say, oh, all I've taken yesterday or last 24 hours or 6 glasses of water, write that down. The next time they're coming for their test, ask them again, what quantity of water have you taken? If they say 10 or 12, know that you're going to get a different reading entirely. But if they say 6, know that you can trust that reading. And so what you then do for that particular time is that you take that reading and you store it. So that the next time they come again for a reassessment, you ask them question and you hear them say 8 to 10 glasses. And then you take that reading and then you now have what you can actually work with in that regard. So I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. That don't ask your clients to take water that they will not usually take on a good day because you want to do a test. But advise them to take at least 8 to 10 glasses of water before coming for that test. I hope I didn't confuse you guys and you get it. So they should hydrate properly is the point here. Next thing is they should avoid food, tobacco, alcohol, caffeine for at least 3 hours prior to testing. Usually we don't have problems with this because our testing usually is in the morning when clients come in, because at the end of the day, people are stressed out. It's not a good time to do cardiovascular tests. So usually it's in the morning, and most people usually will not eat before they leave. So food usually is not a problem, but tobacco may be a problem depending on how the person, but alcohol also, you want to find out. Caffeine, definitely you want to warn them. Most people just wake up in the morning, they take coffee because they want to be strong, they want to be agile, and they want to get out of the house. So ensure that you warn them about these things, okay? Also, avoid exercise or strenuous activity on the day of the test. That's that thing I was talking about, running down, to the gym because, that day is you're coming and you didn't know that there was going to be a test, or the trainer didn't give you a pre-test instruction. Also, take all regular prescribed medications prior to testing unless otherwise instructed by a physician. This is very important. So they may be on some kind of drug. Just ensure that they take what they will regularly take so that whatever reading you have, it's fine. And then when they come back again for a retest, which usually we will do maybe in some 3 months' time, depending on the goal of the client, will be the same, okay? Finally, properly screen all clients before cardiorespiratory fitness testing by having them complete or update a physical activity readiness questionnaire. You know why I put this update here? Because in my interaction with some guys recently, I found out that some of the guys that actually did our courses and they knew what physical activity readiness questionnaire was, they thought it was a one-time thing. That the minute you've taken it, then we're good. And I said, of course not. If you read the information in that questionnaire, it can change. For instance, the question on pregnancy can change in 3 months. It can even change in 2 months. So you can take a test today, you can take your questionnaire today, and the client say, I'm not pregnant. I don't have back pain. I'm this and I'm that. And they're all honest. And in 1 month time, all that information has changed. So you have to always do an update of your of your PAQ, okay? Or your HHR. So when you do that, of course, you are also doing a reassessment, okay? So you don't do this assessment and you just fill it in the client's form, put it in a file, throw it on that somewhere and say, we assess our clients when they come to the gym. No, the assessment should have periodic, it should be periodic in that sense. So what is the YMCA 3-minute step test? The 3 minutes, of course, YMCA is the ones that developed this. I think it's youth something. I've forgotten the meaning of YMCA now. So the 3-minute step test indicates a person's cardiovascular fitness. The cardiovascular fitness level is indicated by the heart rate measured for 1 minute after the completion of 3 minutes of stepping. So forgive me, guys. Usually I should have a video for you for this. There's one on our YouTube page. So maybe during a Q&A session, I will go to the YouTube page and show it here, and then you can ask questions on that. But basically for the test, what you need is a 1 feet box or a 12 inches box. No, so let me say this to you. Most of the step board we have in our gym is not 12 inches. So don't just use any box. it's important that you follow these parameters if you are going to actually compare it with the same chart that YMCA produced when they developed this test, okay? So you need a box, a 12-inch box. If you know what a plyometric box is, I'm sure most of you know what that is. Plyometric boxes are used now for power jumps and things like that. There are 3 levels of it. The first one is actually 12 inches. So if you have that in your gym, you're good to go. Just be careful not to use the foamy part, use the hard surface so that the person has a solid landing when they're stepping on it. The next thing you need is a metronome. If you don't know what a metronome is, you can just go to your Google Play Store and type metronome. You will see it's a musical instrument that calculates beats per minute. Beat per minute. So what I mean by that is, it will tell you whether you should go boom, 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 or you should go boom, 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 boom. I hope you guys get that point. So that's kind of what a metronome is. So it goes ta, 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 ta. So it determines your pace, basically. Of course, you then need a stopwatch, which most of us easily have, so that you can, of course, know when it's 3 minutes and calculating their active heart rate after they've completed the 3-minute step. You also need the stopwatch to say, okay, you want to calculate the pulse for 30 seconds and multiply by 2. Then you also need the stopwatch. Then you also need an HR heart rate monitor. The reason why I put this here is because technology can do a lot for us now, or an oximeter. You just place it in the finger and it will calculate the pulse. It's one of the calculations we give you is the pulse rate. So you can use that instead of trying to hold people, and with the pandemic and a lot of clients not liking you touch them so much. I advise you get an oximeter. It's like 4K5, if you know what you're doing with it. It's not that expensive. So you can get that. Or the client have like a very good fitness watch, or what's it called now? Sport watch. But please ensure that the right parameters are there. Okay? Ensure that their age, their height, all the information that they put from their phone onto that device is accurate, or else whatever you are seeing on that screen will be total crap. Now, let me just say this very quickly. Sometimes I see people using a treadmill to check for heart rate. Now, that can be good if before the workout, you included the person's age, gender, gender. There's one more thing I'm forgetting. But you need to input some data into that treadmill before it will give you an accurate reading. So, we go to the gym today and you just see people running on their equipment. They put their hands on the monitor, those metal shining parts, and they calculate and it gives them a number and they're like, yeah, that's my heart rate. No, that's not your heart rate. That cannot be your heart rate, okay? Because your age, your gender, and I keep forgetting, I don't know why. Age, gender, I think weight. I think your weight, yeah. Weight, age, gender. I think those are the things you need. Anyway, so these are what you need to have, like an accurate measurement on all these gadgets that we have. And be careful not to use a treadmill without inputting the client's data into that treadmill to get their heart rates, okay? Now, what is the procedure for doing the YMCA 3-minute step test? Simple. Of course, we're using these 3 things. The metronome is with you. The step box is the box is with the client. The stopwatch is with you, and the oximeter is waiting by somewhere. Okay, that's what you use last. So step on and off the box for 3 minutes is basically what you're telling the client. And one of the things I've noticed that you must tell your clients that this will look like 10 minutes. Because see, just stepping on the box for 3 minutes doing nothing is very boring. And guess what? You cannot play music because you need the metronome to be sounding tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. For every beat, there is a step. And so if you have music, they'll be confused. So usually it looks like a lot of work, like a lot of time. So just prepare your mind that it looks like a lot of time, but it's not. So every minute, tell them they've done a minute, or every 30 seconds, tell them 30 seconds in, 30 seconds in, so that they feel like they're moving, okay? So step on and off the box for 3 minutes, step up with one foot and then the other, step down with the other foot, followed by the other foot. Follow the metronome beat, go at a steady and consistent rate. So at the end of 3 minutes, remain standing while you immediately check your heart rate. Now, some textbooks will tell you they should sit down and after 1 minute, check the heart rate. Well, because I follow ACSM, I will just say they're not wrong because it's science, but I think getting someone's heart rate at the end of a 3 minute study, especially because you're trying to get their active rate, looking for something close to their VO2 max, even though we know it's a submax, I think it's an immediate thing to do. Remain standing. I mean, seriously, and immediately check for that heart rate. That's what I'll say. From the reason I'm telling you, you can read someone else and say, but Mr. Josh said this, or maybe it's his thought. No, it's not my thought. This is, these are the two school of thought, but this is, I believe, is more accurate if you think about the science behind it. So when you're done with your numbers, when you're done with your number, what you do is you then check the chart. I didn't create this chart. This chart was created when this test was created. You get the point. So when you do a test, there should be a chart for it. Don't just do a test and just write it down and say, thank you very much. The answer is this, and you put it down. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. You need to use the chart for something. Now, let me give you a scenario. I think a scenario will help at this point. It's already 12. I'm going to speed this up. Okay, let me give you a scenario. If you do this test, for instance, and you get, maybe the person is 40 years old, and after calculating the person's pulse rate, or you use the oximeter, and you get, let's say, 123 beats per minute. What you will then do is go to the person's gender first. So let's say it's a male, and the person is 42. So can you see this up here? You will go to this age range, and then scroll down to look for the number that you just assessed. And so for what I just said, for 124 or so, I think that's what I said, this client is at this stage poor. But you don't tell the clients your cardiovascular stuff is poor. I know that's another subject, but don't do that. Just read that, write it on your report sheet as poor, because you have a table you can always go to. Write it as poor, and then use it as a to say, okay, in the next X amount. In the next X amount of weeks, we will check this test again, and hopefully we should be around that 116. Okay, even though we are still in the poor zone, but there will have been some development. And so you don't just say poor, even though this is poor. I hope you guys get what I'm saying. Yes, we know it's poor, but there is still room for development. That means the person can get better, and you should encourage the client to say, you have done better, but we can do even much more. Okay, and so you keep growing up this chart till the person is done. Now, is there any question on this? Oh, thank you. Everybody was trying to help me. Wait, thank you. Thank you so much. Wait, so do we have any question because I'm done with cardiovascular assessment. Okay, so no questions on cardiovascular assessment? None? I like to know people that know stuff. Okay, so you guys are a wonderful class. You're not responding. I hope you do. I wish you are. Maybe some people are busy. Okay, let's get right to it. So I'll assume that we all understand everything I've said, and it's clear. So if you have any questions, I'll take them later. Or you can put. Okay, quite understood. That's a fitness trainer. So yeah, certified one. Yeah, I know. He's on. I want to see people that don't have any certification, and one of the reasons we're doing is for people that don't have this, so that they can be equipped with the knowledge that they need. So thank you for your feedback. Of course, I needed that feedback, but I just wanted to be sure that people that have not seen this before and don't know this actually are benefiting from it. Good question, Martins. Martins, they are better tests to use for sport performance because you are dealing with an athlete. Okay. Now, usually when you are dealing with health-related classes, is because those people are maybe new to exercise. So this 3-minute step test is a safe exercise to do for someone just starting a workout or someone that is not an athlete in that sense. Okay, it's not an elite sport person, but the minute they are elite sport people, please, it's advisable not to use the 3-minute step test. There are other tests you can use for them. You can even use the big test or the Cooper test for them. You know, it's demanding, but it will help them to know where they are truthfully. Okay, it's very demanding, but they can do it if they are sports people. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Okay, thanks, Martin, for that question. That was a thoughtful question. So let's move straight to muscular strength and muscular endurance assessment. I think it's the last one I would take. Maybe we'll have to do fitness assessment 2.0. I don't know. But I mean, I'm just thinking about it right now. There's so much that I should have put. Yeah, I should have put videos and all that. You know, yeah, but my bad. But you know, let's just go on. We'll see where we can stop and then we'll stop. So, muscular strength and muscular endurance. So, just as we looked at the cardiovascular, the muscular endurance and muscular strength basically has to do with the muscular system. The muscular system, if you know this, is basically all the muscles in your body and how they work together. Of course, you know, muscles help with movement, with posture. It helps with so many other things, storage. It has different uses in the body that it has. You know, its properties, you know, it's elastic, it's retractable and all that, okay? So the muscle system is the foundation of all physical exercise. And I hope you know why that is true. No matter what activity you participate in, your muscle strength and endurance determine your exercise limit. Let me say this, as much as the cardiovascular is very important, you cannot do cardiovascular without your muscles. I mean, when we say skeletal muscles, we are saying that because that is basically what helps with movement, isn't it? I don't know whether this is a good time to say this, but there was a time on national TV that someone was working their abs. It was like a, you know, this morning show, and the person was there, and the presenter asked the person, "Yeah, wow, what did you just work out now?" And the person was like, "I just worked out my stomach muscles." And yeah, that was like, "Yeah, I just worked out my smooth muscles." I mean, I almost died, literally almost died. I'm like, what? You know, and I know the person should know better. Maybe it was just the pressure of TV, but that goes without saying. That a doctor will listen to that person, or a nurse, or a physiotherapist, and they'll just say, "These are all these fitness trainers are just they don't know anything," and that's how I felt, you know. And so we should know that when we're talking about muscular strength and muscular endurance, we're talking about skeletal muscles, okay, and not smooth muscles. You can't work out your smooth muscle, at least from the little I know, you can't. But they are. Your abdominal, your stomach has muscles in front of them, and that one you can work, but it doesn't get into your intestine. You can't build muscle on your intestine. I hope that's clear. So the terms muscular strength and muscular endurance are often confused, and it is important to differentiate between them. Now, see what I did? I brought more confusion. The reason why I did this was to say strength versus endurance. So I said in this part, will you say this is strength, or will you say this is endurance? Now, guess what? If you notice the plates that this person is carrying, on the right, the plate is double. And then on the left, it's just one plate. Now, the difference between these two diagrams will determine the client's ability. That's the truth. It's the client's ability that determines whether something is strength or endurance. not, not the area of the gym. In the gym, we don't have an area for strength training and then another area for endurance. There's nothing like that. All the weight equipment can be used for both strength and endurance. And so in saying that, there's really no difference if you do not know what muscular strength is and what muscular endurance is. You're using the same, you're basically using the same tool, but you're using them in different intensity. So the difference between strength and endurance is intensity or the weight of what you are carrying. So let's zoom in first on muscular strength. Muscular strength is the maximum amount of force or weight a muscle or group of muscles can generate through a full range of motion in one single effort, to a point that no more repetitions can be done without rest. So we call it 1 RM or 1 rep max, meaning, as I've said, the maximum which you can lift in one complete rep, an up, a downward, and an upward movement if you're doing a bench press. If you can do one more to push up, that is not a 1 rep max. Okay? That is not a 1 rep max. And so muscular strength works with your 1 rep max. Muscular strength works with maximum effort, maximum force being pushed, for you to develop certain kinds of strength. And I hope we know that we have hypertrophy, we have power, we have strength itself when it comes to muscular training and endurance. Okay, so we're just dealing with these two because it's health related. Okay, so for muscular endurance, this is the ability of a muscle or group of muscles to perform a repeated movement or to hold a particular position, isotonic, isn't it? With less than maximum force for an extended period of time or until muscular fatigue. Any questions? No questions. No questions. Any questions? Let's keep going. So what is the 1 RM testing or the 1 repetition maximum testing? Well, the way you do assessment for strength for different group of muscles and different muscles in your body is what we're discussing. So let me just go on with my note. The 1 RM is the heaviest weight that can be lifted one time while maintaining good form. You see this, while maintaining good form, is fundamental to this result. Okay. If you see people doing bench press, they may do the first one, perfect form. Second one, they allow me to use the word barrage. All the form is gone, and they are just swinging the weight and they are pushing, and then they get it up by sheer will. And they're like, yeah, I did that. Yeah, you did that, but no, you really didn't do it. Because exercise and form is important. The minute you lose your form, you've lost the exercise. I hope we know that. So this type of maximal strength testing is considered the gold standard for evaluating dynamic strength because it involves the use of isotonic or dynamic muscular contractions. It translates well to real life situations as well as exercise performance. So what tools do you need to do your 1 RM? Many tools. Any exercise that will target a particular muscle group or a particular muscle, you use it. So bench press, deadlift, snatch, bicep curl, leg curl, squat, etc. are the things you can use. Because when I say tools, we know we're just talking about strength training equipment, okay? Of course, so based on the kind of equipment you have that works different. So the bench press, of course, cannot be used for, complete bench press cannot be used for squats. You might use the barbell, but you cannot use the bench, which is why it's a bench press. I hope you guys get my drift. Same thing with the snatch. You can't swap the snatch for a bicep curl. Why are we using all these different equipment? It's because of the targeted muscle, isn't it? So the prime movers or the assistors and all the muscles that work to get that action performed is what determines what weight you use or what kind of equipment you use. Sorry. Okay. Of course, that goes without saying. If the person is elderly or new to exercise, try to use maybe cable weights instead of free weights, so that, try to use machine weights instead of free weights so that you can help the client avoid injury. Okay. So procedure for 1 rep max. Now, one of the most very important thing with this is familiarization. You must get your client to be familiar with the bar or the equipment, checking their posture, checking their technique, checking their maybe bar grip, depending on what they're doing, before they perform this test. So you want to ensure that they are familiar with it, and maybe give them a bare bar or wood, plank wood, to just do the movement, so that you just explain first the movement, the angle, and those things, the bar grip and things like that, as it were. Then you can then move to some very lightweight. And, the recommendation here is that you have the client perform a light warm-up of 5 to 10 reps at about 40 to 60% of his or perceived maximum resistance. So that basically means that, so what they're saying here is very key. So you remember we had gotten the 1 rep max before. Well, we're trying to get the 1 rep max now. So what they're saying here is that you should have like an estimate, like because for you to have an accurate 40 to 60 of their rep, you should have already done the 1 rep max. Okay, I'll explain that in a bit. Okay, but you want to ensure that maybe you can ask the person open-ended questions like, what's the largest amount of weight you've carried before? If the person says, I've lifted about 150. This is saying give them about 50% of that 150 to lift first. So that will be light to moderate exertion. After 1 minute of rest, minimum of 1 minute, 2 minutes, should be more than that. After 1 minute of rest with light stretching, cue the client to perform 3 to 5 reps of 60 to 80% of their perceived maximum resistance. That's the same thing. We're calling it perceived because, okay, this is what I've done before. So you watch the clients. When you're asking them to do 3 to 5 reps, you watch how well they carry it. If you see they're carrying it too heavily, they're giving you the wrong information. If you see they're carrying it too lightly, then they're giving you the wrong information. So you can just tweak that. When you've done this, after you've added this, after they've performed this 60 to 80% of this perceived maximum resistance, then go on to add 3 to 5 kg of that perceived weight of 60 to 80. Okay? When they've lifted this, allow them to rest for 3 to 5 minutes. When they've done that, add another 3 to 5 kg. You continue this process till they can only perform 1 repetition maximum. The minute they do that, then you have their maximum 1 rep. Remember, the rest is important. If you do energy systems, you know how when we do weightlifting or when we lift weight, our energy is replenished. And so that is, you are recommended to have 5 minutes of rest, 3 to 5 minutes of rest. If it's less, their energy will not have, replenished enough to perform that that exercise as they should. Of course, lastly, express the results relative to the client's body weight, dividing the 1 rep max by the client's weight. That's another thing that we will not have time to discuss. But what I wanted to say was, if you look at what we've discussed, it takes some time, isn't it? You have them practicing familiarization, and then with these 2 levels of 40 to 60 and 60 to 80, and they are doing about 5 to 10 reps of it. And then you are adding 3 to 5 kg as you see fit every 5 minutes or so. Okay? Of course, just thinking about it, that would take about 20 minutes at least to get there. So remember that before you do this, ensure that there's ample time, the person has enough time to do this, or else they'll feel like you're wasting their time in the gym. Today they wanted to join the Zumba class, but we didn't allow them join it. So preparation is quite key. When everybody knows what they are coming to do, they get ready for it. Okay, so I was checking. I thought I saw someone talking, so I let them mute that. So let's get going. ME testing, muscular endurance testing. Because of time, I will just take us through something simple. Or of course, this is the maintenance of a given amount of force for as long as possible until fatigue sets in. Basically, this is saying the amount of repetition. The amount of repetitions the person can do until fatigue. Now, this is not here, but technically, when we are looking at endurance, any exercise where you can do above 15 repetitions, is considered muscular endurance. Some will actually say from 12 upward is muscular. So, you know, you see sometimes some people are lifting weights. Yeah, maybe they're exercising and then they carry like a barbell and they're doing this. And then, or you give them 5 kg or something, and then, especially, I don't want to build muscle. I don't know if you guys ever hear that. You know, it's simply because they don't understand that muscular endurance, you can't build any muscle. And there is a certain amount of repetitions that your muscle will allow you to do if you are doing muscular strength. If you are doing muscular strength, there's no way you can do a repetition of 20, 30 repetitions and you are pushing your hands forward and you think you can build muscle that way. It's totally impossible. Okay? So for muscular endurance, without wasting your time, also any exercise can determine what you use. It depends on the muscular endurance that you're testing for. That's what will determine what you're using. So you can do the push-up, the pull, the bicep curl, you can do a squat. I'll do a wall sit instead of a snatch because usually that's with a big weight. So that's an error there. Sorry about that. So the wall sit also can work. Actually, the snatch can work if the weight is light and you see how often they can do it. It's also possible. Remember, it's the same tool you use. Is the intensity that varies between endurance and muscular strength. I hope we get that. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, we're there. So one of the ones you can do, so you're done with your client's cardio. You can move on to is their muscular endurance or strength before you come to muscular endurance. Remember, if you do the muscular strength first, there will have been some fatigue before they do that. So if you are doing this whole test in one day, ensure that you do the cardio first, then do the muscular strength next before you do the muscular endurance. You get, because this is a bit of oxygen required also, even though it's endurance. Yeah. Okay, so push-up test. With male clients, utilize the standard down position using the toes as the pivot point. Okay, there's an error here. It's only the pivot, it's only the female part that is here. So please, this is not how the male will do theirs. It's supposed to be a parallel plank kind of posture. The hands and shoulders width apart, the back is straight, the head is up. With female clients, use the modified knee position with hands, shoulders width apart, back straight, legs together, lower legs in contact with the mat, ankles, plantar flexed, and head up. Okay? So sorry about this error here. This is not the male version. Male version should be the plank position, as it were. So have the client raise the body by straightening the arms and then return to the starting position, touching the chin to the mat. The stomach should not touch the mat at any time. One of the instruments you can use is this cone. You know, there's this flat cone used in the gym. I think it's the right amount. I think it's about 4 inches or so. You can put it right at the chest of the client so that when they press down, their chest don't hit the floor and they don't cheat by resting and then trying to come back up and then ensure that their chin touches the mat. Okay. Now, instruct both men and women that the back should Remember, form is everything, and the push-ups must be straight, and the arms position also should be in the right place. Count the maximum number of push-ups performed in good form without rest. The maximum amount of push-ups done in good form. This good form is as important as when I explained about good form when I was talking to you about strength. Someone loses their form, they are out. They've already told you the maximum they can do. Okay, so count the maximum amount of push-up performed in good form without rest. Stop the test when the client cannot maintain good form, or 2 consecutive reps, or strains forcibly, and they cannot continue. So when they are trying to force it. When people are trying to do it and they're like, just tell them to stop. You have the number you need, and so you record that number down and put that there. But you also go to your chart and you check based on the person's gender and age to be sure where the person is supposed to be. If the person is 22 years old and the person was able to do maybe 30 push-ups without resting, without breaking their form, then you check the chart. Maybe the person is a lady and the person was able to do, let's say, 15 push-ups. You check the chart. So you go to the lady's chart, check their age. Oh, the lady's 22. She's in this part. She was able to do 15. Okay, that's 4. Or maybe she was able to do 18. That's average. You record that. Notice that the one for the men and the women are different. Okay, of course, you should know why. Physiological reasons, isn't it? Yeah. Thank you. Now, I'm stopping now. I moved my presentation actually forward to the thank you portion, because you can have a presentation for 2 hours and one for 1 hour 20 minutes. Nah, it's not good. So what we're going to do now is take Q&A and try and apply all these things to what we've learned. Okay? So I'm taking questions now. I'm taking questions now. Anyone? Anyone there? Okay. Oh no, go ahead.
As regards the cardiovascular endurance, can you use the beep test for non-athletes?
Yes, you can, but they will be fagged out. Yes, you can. Don't forget that the beep test also has a chart that you can check. But you see,
Yes.
some clients, maybe because of the tools you have available with you, you don't want to lose them. You want to show them that you can do stuff with them. You can do it because it's something that it's actually a good test. So you can actually do it. But be careful that the person doesn't have any cardiovascular disease. You understand? When people have not exercised in a long time and they have maybe any issues, hypertension or anything like that, you don't want to push them too hard. Okay? So that is why you have the 3-minute step test. But yes. I actually use it sometimes when I'm doing when I consult for some of these companies, when I'm doing like a group test, I would do that because it will help me to read faster.
Yes, exactly. But I get the point though. I mean, it can scare people away. It's a very okay. All right. Thank you very much, boss.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Any other question? Any other question, please?
So there's one in the chat box. Someone was asking if they can use the YMCA 3-minute test for sports performance.
Yeah, that was a while back. I answered Martins already. It was Martin that asked. I answered right. It was at the end of the cardio test that we were discussing.
Okay.
I mean, if you guys have questions, please ask, but you know that we've not talked about other forms of endurance tests. We've not talked about flexibility tests using the sit and reach box, or if you don't have the sit and reach box, how you can do that with the tape and all that. We've not talked about how to get proper fat percentage. And anyone that is here, please try and do away with BMI, body mass index. There are better values that can help your client, like measuring each circumference of their body is way, there's nothing you're doing with the BMI, trust me. And sometimes BMI may even be wrong, depending on the person's height and body weight, and then the BMI is wondering, is this person this tall, and the person is fit. So you want to use an impedance machine, you want to ensure that you have the right percentage of fat, you want to ensure that you know you've taken the measurement of the whole body, as it were. You know, some of these things we teach in the PT class, a level of it we teach in the fitness trainer class. So, but just ensure that you do all these tests. So let me say this to you. If you meet a fitness a client for the first time and you do this test, I can almost tell you that you will earn more than the average guy, because they will appreciate the fact that because when you go to the hospital, we don't just go to the hospital and then they just check up. We run some tests, isn't it? So they will appreciate that. And you can charge for the test. That is if you know what you're doing. You can charge for the test. So I tell my students that do the fitness trainer course, you are not losing money, basically, because you can get in 1 month, whatever you spend for your fitness trainer course, you can make that in 1 month. 1 month, or from one client, you know. Not talk of having 3 clients or thereabout with the same money coming in. So this knowledge is value. It's something that it's tradable, and you don't just do assessment for free. You get, because you do like a report and show it, and you can charge maybe 10K, just something back for the trouble and all the work you're doing. But if it's a PT class, because I think I saw Coach Joe here. Is it Ojo? I hope I'm Coach. Am I pronouncing your name well? Ojo. I'm trying to identify those that I know that are PT.
Coach Joe. Coach Joe, I can hear you.
Yeah. Hi. I was just trying to identify those that I know.
Good afternoon.
How you doing, man?
I'm fine, sir. Good job. Excellent. I was hearing the beautiful insights you have shared this morning. I really appreciate it. It's deep, and it was what recalling few things which you said, and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. So that's so pronounce your name for me. Is it Ojo? I don't want to be wrong.
It's Ojo, like joy. Ojo.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. In the reason why I mentioned Coach Ojo and I brought his attention forward, because I know he's properly certified as a PT trainer. And so most of the things I'm saying, he's familiar with it, and as he has said, it's a refresher for him. But that is what makes him different from the rest, you know, and I want to encourage us to keep learning and keep doing better. There's so much more to learn. Sometimes when I want to do seminars like this, I feel so overwhelmed to say, where do I start from? But we just decided as a team here at Institute of Exercise Professionals to just push, to just start. And if it's halfway, we'll do halfway. So maybe we should do a 2.0 of this so that I can concentrate on the other parts of the assessment so that we'll have a complete package. Or if there's something else, I know Mrs. Eunice is in charge of this. Maybe she has something else planned for us, but we will have another seminar as soon as we can. Okay, please reach out to us at any time, even if you're not an IREP person and you have any questions, you have anything, you need anything, please feel free to reach out to me and ask. Okay, I'm always very happy to help, to lend my support in any way that I can. Okay, so thank you, everyone. I want to assume that there are no questions and that we understand fully everything that we've shared today. Just one person, you can just echo, and I'll be sure that we are good. Oh, okay. I've forgotten to talk about IREP. Anybody? Very quiet class. Even Thanks, Coach. Martins, John, everyone is quiet. Maybe you guys are busy. It's Saturday. So I guess maybe some of you are like fagged out from the gym and you're like on the floor, rolling and tired and all that, but it's fine. I appreciate everyone's coming around and participating in this. It encourages us to do more when we see the push. So we'll send this out and ensure that everybody has it.